Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Welcome to our last live of 2024 middle grade March.
Can you believe it's over? I mean,
No,
it's not over yet, but like
there's still days to go. But yeah, as far as lives, crazy.
It's crazy.
So different from all the other lives this month. Tonight we're clearly going to be talking about the Mona Lisa Vanishes, which was our group read.
Our first ever nonfiction selection, guys. What did you think about having a nonfiction selection?
We were so nervous when we picked it. We're like, people are going to hate us. We're already asking them to read middle grade, which for some people is very new,
very outside of their comfort zone.
We're also saying and read a nonfiction middle grade.
I know. But our reasoning was we're like, we need to do something different, something like a genre we haven't done before.
And it won an award, and we read the first little bit, and
it's so compelling.
Right from the beginning, we thought this is going to be a fun one. So, and then to our surprise, the feedback we got was almost across the board really positive. About the choice before people read it. We'll see how we thought about it.
Minus the availability internationally.
Minus international availability, 100%. But yeah, so thanks for jumping on board as we took a little side road this year with something a little different. You guys jumped on board with us, and I think for the most part we had fun with it. We'll see as we talk tonight. So yeah, feel free as we go through just reflecting on the book and stuff, as you're already doing. Feel free to hop onto the comments, talk with each other, respond to each other, and also any questions that come up, feel free to ask them. I know. How is this the last one? March just started. All right, cool. So hello. Let's see. I just want to see if there was any off the bat. Loved a combination of history and mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the cover. I agree.
The cover and just the artwork inside in general was
100%. So good. Maybe right at the end, we'll kind of talk about we have our current reads in our headline, but also what do we plan on finishing up? But let's just go ahead and dive into the book, Katie.
Okay, so we have some questions to sort of guide the discussion, but I think first I just want to know people's overall impression of the book. Did you like it? I want to hear from people who liked it, and I want to hear from people for whom the book didn't land. And I want to know what you if it didn't land for you, if you didn't really love it, I want to know what missed the mark about it. So let's get some overall impressions. So Krista and Amanda first, I guess, while we're waiting for people to respond.
So I really enjoyed it. I thought that the writing style was very fast-paced and accessible, especially to middle graders. However, I will say that as you got further in, all the rabbit trails got a little overwhelming. It was kind of hard to follow the through point of the story. Excuse me. The through point of the story, because there were so many offshoots going in so many different directions. And I listened to the audio for most of it. And the audio was fantastic. The narrator is a narrator who has narrated a lot of stuff. So immediately I'm like, I know this voice. Because the narrator did a fantastic job. But she'd start talking about something and I'd be like, oh, wait, we're talking about the time period when it got stolen now, not when Da Vinci was creating it. Or wait, now we're talking
even
about
further. It jumped to
Picasso. Picasso was doing his thing and that whole shenanigans. And so there were so many characters and so many timelines. It did get a little convoluted at times. However, that being said, I also loved it. So I don't know. What about you, Krista?
I really did like it, and I think having read it in print maybe was a little easier because I didn't get as distracted by all the offshoots, because I feel like it all was explaining. I mean, it wasn't super clear, but like all the different types of people that the police were looking for, rather than looking at the details, they were looking at what they expected to see.
I did like
that was a whole offshoot. It did jump around a lot. I don't know. I think that helped me to stay interested, though, because I'm not somebody who loves nonfiction. So because it did hop around a lot, it felt like I was getting a little tidbit of information about this, and then I was learning about this, and then I was learning about that. And I don't think there was maybe one part that I don't even remember where it was that I was like, okay, like let's get back to I don't remember what it was, but one part that I was like ready to get back to the main thing. But other than that, I just really loved it. I'm not somebody who reads a ton of nonfiction, and I thought the illustrations added a ton to the story. It just it made it so fun to see it visually as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't give it 5 stars. I think I ended up with like a 4.5.
I gave it 5 stars because I felt like it accomplished exactly what it set out to do, and I really loved its execution. I also think to jump. Sorry, were you done talking, Krista?
Yes. No, I'm done. Yeah.
I also loved it, and I think one of the benefits of reading it physically rather than audiobook is that it had like these section breaks, so you knew whether it was going to be talking about Leonardo or talking about what was happening in present day.
Yeah.
But I feel like even within those section breaks, because those were in the audio also, like it would say like part 3, whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like within those section breaks, it still had a lot of different directions that it was going.
Oh yeah, it definitely did have a ton of different directions. It definitely did, and I'm not disputing that. But I do think there's something about seeing it visually that
physically seeing the breaks
to keep it in, just helps to kind of keep things in its place. But I could see it getting confusing. I loved that. So I never in college took any art history classes or anything like that. I did take history classes, and but I don't remember Leonardo da Vinci ever really coming up in history. But I've seen his stuff when I go to museums. Like every once in a while, there'll be a section on Leonardo da Vinci, and like I remember seeing his. I could be wrong, but my memory is seeing his notebooks, like seeing a page from his notebooks, and because he was just so eclectic and interesting, like he followed all these rabbit trails. So this book was as much about art history as it was about the heist. So it was like, I loved the idea of teaching kids art history through the lens of this heist that took place in the 20th century. And because you got not just art history, but also like a little bit of forensic history in there. Yeah. And like, I just thought the whole thing just was fascinating to me. Like when it was talking about fingerprinting and how fingerprinting was a really new method of detective work, but and now I'm not going to remember the name of the other Bertillon or whatever the detective's name was, who had the method where you took all the facial and measured their earlobes, and he like refused to get with the times. And so but how, like, if the heist had taken place anywhere else but in France, it probably would have been solved a lot sooner, but because he would not let go of his own method. Even though fingerprinting was a part of the method, it just wasn't. They didn't catalog it the way everyone else did, so it was harder to use. Anyway, I just thought the entire thing was fascinating, and I loved it. And like as a homeschool mom, I could imagine using this as a jumping off point for like some kind of unit study into art history. And it made me what all the best nonfiction does. It made me do all sorts of rabbit trails. And like I looked up every piece of artwork that was mentioned because I wanted to see the artwork for myself. Yeah, I loved it. Okay. Let's see what other people are saying.
Yeah, I have a bunch. I just kind of picked from here and there. So sorry if I don't
have to say really quick that whenever I think about Leonardo da Vinci, I don't know if you guys are this way.
Ever After.
100. What'd you say?
Ever After.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes, 100%. Same.
That's what I was gonna say. That is all I can picture is Leonardo from Ever After.
Yes.
Oh my word, that's so funny. Me too.
And it's just like, I'm trying to figure out how to walk on water and like random crap.
I would highly recommend still putting it on hold at the library so that you can look at the illustrations and just kind of flip through because they're fantastic.
They are fantastic.
We just had a really big thunderclap outside. I love it.
I heard it.
I love the middle grade nonfiction. It's so much more accessible to me and I learned so much. Love that. I like the first half of the book much better than the last.
Interesting.
Anne says, I really enjoyed the beginning and the illustrations. I found the book to be a little choppy as I got further in and did not enjoy the latter part as much. So that's kind of a common feel. The dry humor, love. Loved it. Going to be using it for a unit in homeschool now. Love it. And then Kelly was not as great of a fan. And she did I star where she comes back? Yeah, here we go. She did not like the writing style, too much telling. It felt more like a graphic novel and was hard to follow at points. But also she has
this would make a really good graphic novel.
It would.
It would make a good graphic novel.
Make a really good graphic novel.
I love it. Anne says, I think it would have been better if it focused on just the stealing of the Mona Lisa and how it became famous. I see what you're saying, but I also loved all the other history.
I think I do not. I really think it would have taken away from the book as a whole if we didn't learn about the painting.
Well, and it wouldn't have been very long. Like
it wouldn't have been very long.
And if you think about it,
we wouldn't have understood the context either, because part of what made the heist so interesting is that it wasn't Leonardo da Vinci's most famous work. It wasn't his most accomplished work. It wasn't his most it was like sort of an obscure Leonardo. Like people knew it, but not
really.
Not really.
They never really said why the thief chose that specific piece, did they?
My assumption, they didn't. My assumption was that it would be easy to grab because it's not very big. Because that's something that I hear people when they go to the Louvre and they see it, they're always surprised at how small it is. Yeah, but that's my assumption.
Yes, they did because he's Italian. And
yes, but why not another Italian painting, or why not another Leonardo da Vinci? Like why
specifically the Mona Lisa? That's what I was like. They never really said why he chose that specific.
Maybe because of the size of it, and
that's what she was just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. My school librarian asked me if she should put a sticker on it that it states only 5th or so should read it. She doesn't think. I think it could be younger too.
No, there's nothing
in it that's
Grab me from the beginning.
Unless they want it, you don't want kids to know how to like have a really great art forgery scheme. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole book, was when they talked about that one group that was like, they would make the forgery and then steal the painting so that they could sell the forgeries and tell the people they were selling the forgeries to that it was the real one. So nobody could figure out.
Nobody knew.
You couldn't report it or check to see if it was real.
But then learning that was all a scam. Like that wasn't even
all a scam.
Like the reporter just made that all up. Yeah.
Didn't know old Leonardo was such a slacker. I love that.
Okay, I'm gonna say I don't think Leonardo da Vinci Da Vinci, oh my gosh, was a slacker. I think he had ADHD. Like I am 100% convinced that he had ADHD, because it wasn't, I don't think he was a slacker. I think he just lost interest, which is like quintessential ADHD, like following the rabbit trails of interest, looking for something new to get those like hormone levels up, and then losing interest and just moving on to the next new thing. Like that is such an ADHD quality. And like, there are some quotes in here that I pulled out and sent to, because I have ADHD and I have a bunch of friends who have ADHD. And so I pulled these quotes out from the book and I was like, if Leonardo da Vinci doesn't have ADHD, then I am a monkey's uncle. Like he for sure has ADHD.
I love it. Someone else had said that in the comments earlier too.
Yeah.
The same thought. Kat said, I loved it. I enjoyed the format, the writing style, the illustrations, and the information was digestible given it was nonfiction. I learned a great deal. I want to see the Mona Lisa even more now. Mm-hmm. And then I think someone else said they did see the Mona Lisa and it was kind of underwhelming.
That's what everyone said. Because you can't even get that close because so many people.
And I love that they make a comment about like people will wait in line for hours to take a crappy picture of this painting where you can just go buy a postcard of it. Like you're wasting your like precious few seconds of viewing it personally to like look at it through your phone.
Was not a hit for Teresa. Enjoyable read, liked the pace, but didn't feel like it was dumping facts. Appreciated the humor and the illustrations kept it light and accessible. Things they never teach you in history. I hope this will be the start of more nonfiction history written for this age group. I enjoyed it very much. Nice. It would be nice to see more. I am
seeing a lot more narrative nonfiction coming out for middle grade. Even with like Steve Sheinkin, he's had a few really great books. He had Bomb come out. He had there was a Cold War. It wasn't. There was a Cold War book about like the Cuban Missile Crisis and stuff that he released that was fantastic. And it's all narrative nonfiction and it's great. So like just in the last few years, these books have been coming out. So I am kind of hoping that there's more of a movement because I love narrative nonfiction.
Yeah, I do too.
So yeah, anyway.
Amanda isn't sure her students would be able to follow along and understand.
Yeah, I kind of got to that point too in the latter half of it where I was like, this is kind of getting a little convoluted. I feel like for the target age group.
Yeah, Anne ended up DNFing. Wish they included pictures of all the paintings. I agree.
That would have been a nice resource, even in the back of the book, like as an appendix or something.
Yeah, there was a couple
like in most nonfiction books where you have in the middle, like
like the photos.
Like actual reproduction.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Probably copyright issues were probably a part of that. Even an illustrated version of them. I don't know.
Well, they have the illustrated version of her eyes on the front cover.
Who would own that copyright?
I don't know.
I think it's probably
expired by now.
Domain at this point. I mean, I don't know how public domain works in the art world, but you know.
Yeah. Jen said she's listened to podcasts about some crazy thefts, and this one lived up to those. Love it. Same for a couple of them. I didn't look up all of them, but there was one especially towards the end, a Picasso one that I had.
Yeah, the three women one that he talked about. Yeah,
I had no idea Picasso was so shady. Da Vinci took it with him to France. Oh, this is why. Possibly one of the last ones he did. So the thief was wanting it to be returned to its birthplace.
That makes sense.
Yeah. There was a lot more comments. Those are the ones I starred for now, but that's basically the general gist. Most people liked it. With a few people, it didn't exactly work for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. Question.
Answer.
Oh, this is cool. Kat's reading a different book, The Alienist, which talks about like the birth of the FBI, I think, right?
Yeah, I read that years ago. I don't think it's the birth of the FBI, but it's like it's got not like modern forensic.
Right.
Yeah. The birth of modern forensic science. Yeah.
To read those kind of side by side would be fun. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the questions is to discuss the significance of the Mona Lisa itself within the context of the book. What does the painting represent to different characters, people, and why is it so important?
I loved seeing how quickly the general population got up in arms. Like they took our Mona Lisa, like they didn't even know what this painting was before, but like very quickly people were flooding the Louvre wanting to get like, and even now today, like you have to stand in line to see it. Like how drastically the general population, especially at the time, got so immediately felt so connected to this random painting that they probably couldn't have even described to you, except that it was all over the news and stuff.
Right.
And isn't that so like
mob
society today?
Yeah,
something happens in your town and you're like, what the heck? And you had no idea what was happening before.
Yeah, right. I moved here 2 years ago, but what are you doing? Yeah.
This is not exactly what the question was asking, but I thought it was interesting because even though, once again, I never took any art history classes, but I do remember hearing people talk about the Mona Lisa's, like her enigmatic smile, or like the fact that her eyes move wherever you are in the room. And so I think it's interesting to think about the fact that those parts of the Mona Lisa that are so ubiquitous that even people who have no sense of art history know these things about the Mona Lisa, but also that those are sort of modern interpretations. No one used to talk about her enigmatic smile. I'm not sure that's true about the eyes. That might have been something that was always talked about, because I think that was a painting technique. But but I do think that like the meaningfulness of the Mona Lisa has gone up significantly because of the heist. And we already touched on this, but like I think about the fact that, clearly, so it talked about all these other things that had disappeared from the Louvre that people had stolen, that like there were no one ever went up in arms. No one ever got up in arms about the fact that those other pieces of art went missing, little statues and stuff like that. But when the Mona Lisa was stolen, that was a huge deal. And is it because it was Leonardo da Vinci and not, something from antiquity so far back that it wasn't attributed to anyone, so that its value wasn't as great? But also to think about the fact that the value of the Mona Lisa, even though it was already valuable when it was stolen, like its value is immeasurable now. And that the critique of the Mona Lisa is, the critique in the classic sense of the word is even greater now after the heist, and has not abated. Like it is still arguably the most famous painting in the world to this day, like a century later.
I love that she went on tours. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
She went on tours.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think it's funny that of all the random art that Leonardo da Vinci didn't finish or didn't start, like he got a commission and just never did it, that this is the one that he did. This random woman that nobody's ever heard of. Right. Like we don't really know whatever happened to her. Like she was nobody, really. I mean, she was somebody. She was beloved. Like, don't get me wrong.
She was a human being who was loved
in history. Yeah. She was nobody. And this is the painting that he actually finished. Like, there's debate on whether it's finished or not, right? But this is the one that he decided to do. Yeah, like, what was so inspiring about this woman that he was like, I gotta do this one?
Yeah, he was turning down like big commissions from
like royalty
leaders, world leaders and royalty, right? but yeah, Kathleen said, I'd like the angle that this woman who would not have had a voice is now timeless and people have such curiosity. No dowry, no social rank. Now she's a showstopper.
Yeah. That's fascinating to think about.
I agree. I loved learning about her as a woman, as a person as well. I'm glad that that was included.
I also enjoyed learning about his contribution to art and the evolution of art, in regards to the types of paints that he used. And like when he made the shield for his dad or whatever, got the commission for him to make the shield, and it scared the crap out of his dad. And his dad's like, well, I'll go buy a shield to give this guy. I'm going to sell this for bank, right? Like, but the methods that he used and how revolutionary they were, and how now it's commonplace to use it, but also why he wanted to use the oil paintings, and why he didn't want to use acrylic, because he didn't want to move fast. He wanted to be able to move slow. And what kind of effect that then gave the paintings, because he could do like that, those types of things. I was fascinated with that because I know nothing about art at all.
And someone mentioned earlier too, like he was really more of an inventor and a creative than just an artist. Like he was incredibly 100%. Skilled and talented, but I think for him the joy in it was maybe trying different things or changing the norms in some way, or like, what is this paint going to do if I add it on top of this paint? Because he was so inquisitive and so curious about everything that he would, I feel like, just try stuff. But because he also had this incredible gift and talent, it just turned out to make really amazing stuff. Not a lot of art, because I just loved hearing how creative he was. He was such a unique person.
Yeah, like one of those people, like one of those sort of once in a generation people. Although it's not, I mean, it was the Renaissance, so there were a lot of once in a generation people that were born at similar times, but he seemed really unique in his talent among those other people, because he wasn't, I don't want to say just an artist, but it wasn't only art that he did. It was inventions and riddles. And although, oh my gosh, I thought the one part in the book where he talks about how he had that that method to
writing stuff backwards,
and like he thought he was being really tricky, but it was like he was actually not, it wasn't tricky at all. Like anyone, like he wasn't even actually writing it backwards, because he was left-handed, so he wrote everything backwards. So the words that he was writing backwards were actually written forwards, so anyone would just be able to read them. But I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, there were a lot of different aspects of the book that I was like, I never knew that, you know?
I love that. Da Vinci was also kind of just
that's a really good point.
Illegitimate, forgotten. Maybe he was drawn to finishing it. Yeah,
I think it's interesting. That was what I was going to say when you were talking, Amanda, or after you were done, was thinking about how he wrote down everything, and yet he did not write down why he chose to do this commission. Like he wrote nothing about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating, and also kind of our loss. Like in this book about a mystery, the mystery of this heist, we also have the mystery of the Mona Lisa itself. And we are asking questions that we'll just never know the answers to, at least on this side of heaven, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Wondering about the reason for her clothing choice. I think this is just speaks to his kind of out there thinking sometimes. I think also the background of this painting talked about a bridge and just some other random things in the background that were not normal for paintings of the time. Yeah, and then she was a noblewoman. Was she?
She was born to a wealthy father, but he
lost all his money.
He lost all his money during one of the, like, that wasn't his house or like his land. They lost everything. So, and although I think he did become wealthy again, the dowries were given at birth and he didn't have anything. So he probably had, if he had more daughters, he probably did have dowries for them. But she was important only as much as any woman was important at the time.
Right.
That was something else that really stuck out to me in the book, was the fact that here during the Renaissance was this time period in which we were having great leaps forward in artistry and mathematics, and we were having this revolution in thought and ideas, and yet women were shut in their houses. They had no voice and no life. Like, what a miserable existence. Just miserable.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. It reminds me of a book I read years ago called, oh my gosh, now I'm not going to remember it. I was thinking about
it. You got to read this book. I don't remember what it is, though.
I was thinking about it all week, and I had it in my head, and I didn't write it down. Oh, that's really going to bother me. Anyway, it takes place during the Renaissance and during like this exact time period. Da Vinci might have even been a character in it. But the main character was a woman.
Yeah.
So
part of the reason that we look and we're like, oh, what a miserable existence, I couldn't imagine, is because we know different.
Yeah.
They didn't know any different. So for them, they're like, this is just life. Like, this is how we roll. We're happy with what we have because this is how we know, kind of like we are today.
Yeah. The Birth of Venus. It's called The Birth of Venus.
She got there eventually, guys.
Yeah.
Nice. This is also crazy to me.
Yeah.
That he figured out how heart valves work.
If we could get numbers on how many cadavers that guy went through.
Oh my gosh. And the way it described how like the stink would just like seep into his clothing and like, oh, that's so gross.
Because he could only work on them for a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, next. Like, oh, blah, 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 blah.
Crazy. He was beyond his time. I love that. Wanting to create a flying machine, proportions of the body. She does correct that. Proportions, not promotions. The gardens surrounding the Chateau d'Ambrose. I can't do French.
D'Amboise.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty cool. And then the Lord's Supper, I was so interested in that too, that painting. How he wanted to do it different. He used like plaster, right? Which flakes as it ages. And so what we see now is a complete and total.
There's nothing original on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
I think my favorite theme throughout the entire book is like, I think it was the overarching theme, is that the one that they made at the end, where it's like, you're never going to find the truth if you're only looking for what you're expecting to find.
Yeah.
And I thought that overarching theme throughout the entire book was so profound, because that is who Leonardo da Vinci was as a human being. That like fully embodied him, and the fact that the author was able to carry that throughout the investigation and all of the different detectives and the different, like throughout all of the sections of it, I appreciated, and I appreciated how he looped it all back around at the end.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting when he would say things like, the only person that could have solved this case was Leonardo da Vinci himself. Because he was such an out-of-the-box thinker.
Yeah.
Speaking of the ending, did you want to say something, Krista?
Well, I also liked that comparison between how Da Vinci thought about the world and things around him and was an observer and a questioner, as opposed to the police on this case who got their idea in their head and ran with it, rather than actually looking at the facts that were right in front of them.
Or being so obtuse that like when they were talking to Leonard or whatever his name was, and he wasn't answering, and they knew he was being dishonest, like they caught him in lies and they didn't investigate that further. That bothers me.
Right. Yeah.
Because he didn't fit the description, the description in their head of who he was. And this makes me think of like now how like I think of like modern day, when there's like a serial killer and we have FBI agents who specialize in coming up with a profile, like a profiler for who is the kind of person that would do this. Now, I do think there's probably a lot more advanced. We know the types of people that commit those kinds of crimes.
But occasionally there's just a random one in there that is totally out of the box and you're like, what?
Right.
Where'd that come from?
Right. So, but it made me, it sort of like that profiling kind of gave me that same, it made me think about how like we still do that today.
Yeah.
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 In detective work.
Yep.
Did you think that there was anything that felt unresolved in the book or at the end of the book? Did anyone think there was?
I mean, I think they did a pretty good job of like landing the plane on all the different detectives and all the different like people involved and what happened to them and all of that. I think the only thing for me was like the whole why this one, why this, but it wasn't anything that I was too hung up about because the story was still great.
Yeah.
Like I was still in it, right? I was able to let that go. Also, did all of those dummies at the Louvre lose their job? I would be interested to know that. Who got fired? How many people got fired?
Yeah.
How many people got fired? And how has security changed since then?
Yes.
Well, specifically, how did security change then?
Right. Because like now we know they've got like,
but like then, because like now we have all the electronics and the cameras and all, they didn't have all that. So how were they able to change their approach to security at that point in history to prevent that?
To sort of even further that thought, because I've never been to the Louvre, so I don't know, but the way it's described is that it's just massive.
Yeah.
Massive. So the undertaking to secure a building of that size where you have the public just wandering through at their own discretion must have just been massive undertaking.
I don't remember any things that I wished I had more info about.
I wished, well, I'm not sure I wanted more info, but I am curious to know, like, he sort of touches on this idea of, who owns the artwork. Does the Mona Lisa belong in France? Because that is where Leonardo da Vinci finished the painting. Like, he took it with him and finished it in France. And also, like, why didn't he send it to the man who commissioned it once he was finished? Like, if he just kept it in France with them, but he was paid money for it? I don't get that.
I did wonder that too, because I'm like, okay, so he finally finished a painting, but don't they want the painting?
Yeah. Isn't that part of the deal? Like, the artist doesn't keep it. He was commissioned for it.
I don't think it was ever actually finished. I don't think Leonardo would have said it was finished.
He lost his contact info, Hannah.
That's funny. Yeah, I guess maybe that felt unresolved to me then, because I didn't. Was it ever stated in the book that he didn't finish it?
It's speculated. Nobody knows for sure. It is speculated that he
because he still had it, and
right, and didn't send it
back.
Why
would he still have it if he thought it was finished? I mean, he had already taken years and years and years and years. That's just him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, then Karen's like, I wonder if she was in a convent by then. Could you imagine having a portrait of yourself hanging in your room in the convent? I'm sure that would not be frowned, or that would not be
Way too vain.
Yeah, like why did he write about his soup and not more about the actual Mona Lisa?
I mean,
that he had. The military guy from Canada was a shocker. I don't remember that.
Military guy from Canada. I don't remember that either. What military guy from Canada?
Yeah, I don't remember. Was that one of the...
Yeah, he was too busy dissecting bodies to write about it.
Facts.
I was shocked that Leonard, am I saying his name? Is it Leonard? The guy who
I don't
stole
remember.
it.
Oh, the guy who stole it?
The guy who stole it.
No, Perugia, Vincenzo.
Sorry, I was saying Leonard the whole time. Vincenzo, I was surprised he basically got a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's legit. That's a legit reason. You're good.
When really the legit reason was a lie because he'd been trying to sell it. Like his whole I wanted to return it to Italy. That was a lie. He didn't want to. That was like a last resort because he tried to sell it to that art collector. Also, why wouldn't that art collector not have been questioned?
Well, the police. Yeah.
Why wouldn't he go to the police? I don't understand that.
Was he doing something shady and he didn't want the police looking too close?
I think that was what it was because he was like, I don't want this anywhere near me. Bye. Nope. That was what I got out of it anyway.
Yeah, this is a good question, Libby. Like, where should she be? Like, should she be back in Italy? But also, I'm glad our museums aren't devoid of art from other cultures and countries.
Yeah.
I know. Like, we can understand that the way the art got here might not have been the best, but we have learned about a lot of cultures in different places because of their art. Yeah. It's a catch-22.
It is a catch-22.
Apparently, the Canadian military guy was not part of the book. It is a serial killer.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I was like, what Canadian military? I don't remember this part of the book.
Yeah, right. The romantic, maybe he loved her and wanted his picture with him. Her picture with him.
The fact that he was so mum about it, but I actually looked up because I was curious if Leonardo da Vinci got married himself or anything like that. And apparently, no, he has not been he was never romantically tied to anyone ever. Yeah. So he just seems like he was completely
not interested.
Like there was too much else consuming his very active mind to be bothered with anything so worldly as attachment to another human being.
He was like, I ain't got time for that. No, thank you.
It's so boring.
Relationships? Hard pass. I prefer dead people over alive people.
Yeah, too many hyperfixations. That's right, Hannah.
I loved that every time Michelangelo was mentioned, it said that he was a jerk.
He was a jerk.
Every time Michelangelo was brought up, and he was just a jerk.
Because apparently it is well documented that he legitimately was a jerk. And then the one time she's like, he wasn't wrong, but he was a jerk.
That was so funny.
That was hilarious to me. I do agree. That was funny.
There was a couple, there was so many humorous parts. There was another part we learned that King Charles, it was early on in this, the first 100 pages. King Charles was known for being foolish and reckless, and actually one time he almost died from hitting his head on the door frame. He was just coming in quick, and he almost died from that. Which I think I can imagine, kids Dumb and Dumber type antics, right? So like a king walking into a room and actually knocking himself out just from hitting his head on the door. Like picturing that would be
well,
really
you figure like back then, well, maybe not. I was thinking like further back. A lot of the doorways were a lot smaller, but not in a palace.
Yeah. True.
I want to know, what about Michelangelo made him
a jerk?
A jerk. What was he like? What did he do that made him a jerk? I need to know. Maybe
he was just full of himself. Maybe he's like, yeah, I can paint the Sistine Chapel. What you got?
Probably. He probably was just very.
And like hard to work. You know how like celebrities can be like divas on the set? Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe he was just like, to everybody.
Bring me my fresh paintbrushes, people.
Get a paintbrush. Stat.
Nah, Michelangelo's.
That's funny.
I love it.
See, Hannah has the proper English. It's called egotistical, not diva.
Diva.
Fine.
Michelangelo had all the commissions at the time he could afford to be a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was just racking up.
Sorry, nobody can afford to be a jerk.
And Leonardo da Vinci did not care a whit about commissions.
This is interesting. Kat's son, Andrew, has a degree in art history. Told him about Michelangelo being a jerk. He said Da Vinci was also a jerk. Neither of them would let Raphael learn from them.
Interesting.
Leonardo da Vinci is a kind young man who lets the little skinny teenager follow him around.
And also, this book, and also it said multiple times in this book how he was very likable, very sweet tempered and likable.
I'm just joking. I'm making a reference to Ever After, but
oh yeah. But in this book, it talks about that, and then when I would look things up about him too, that's what the internet told me as well.
But he might be pleasant, but also not let people work with him.
Well, that's true. He sounds very absent-minded, so it sounds like once again, he didn't have time for actual human connection, so he wasn't going to let Raphael learn.
Yeah, from him. I think he was so focused on whatever quest was in front of him at the moment, whatever he was trying to figure out or discover, even to the point of working for the Medici family or the Borgias, one of those families that were just known to be horrible, but because they were potentially giving him an opportunity to try some of his inventions, and then that didn't pan out, so he left. But he just was so focused on what he wanted to learn and discover that people relationally,
he didn't want anything that was going to tie him to something he had no interest in. Yeah.
Well, Kat said that her son also said people didn't like him later in life because he never finished anything. So.
Oh, well, yeah. that was something I was like, he might have ADHD.
Yeah.
And so people probably got very annoyed with the fact that he never finished anything that he started. And why wouldn't they?
Yeah, Michelangelo was a prima donna when it came to the Sistine Chapel, and to spite the Pope, he painted Greek deities across the scene above the classes of angels. So yeah, it's a little dig. What are you going to do now, Pope?
Get up there and paint it yourself.
Right.
A lot of the popes at the time didn't sound like they were very great people either.
No. I don't think there are very many kind people that we still talk about today. I'm sure there were kind people in the world, just none that are remembered by history.
Yeah.
I also really want to rewatch Ever After. I love that movie so much.
That movie is one of my comfort watches. I love that movie with my entire heart. It is perfection on the TV screen.
It is perfection. Probably my favorite adaptation of Cinderella. Although I really do love the Kenneth Branagh one also.
Yeah.
Rodgers and Hammerstein.
This part was really fun to me as well because it was so surprising. The whole family coup in the town, what's city? Florence.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking the whole town was going to back them. The town was like, nah.
But like the Pope, the Catholic Church, or the Vatican was its own like government. I mean, it still is, but like it was its own like, as far as like Europe at that time and like power moves. And I just think of like Henry VIII and watching the Tudors and how much that like played into the Pope and like the Vatican and what was going on there. And they were definitely a piece on the chessboard for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, wait, was it Pope would grab for any chance of political power? No, that would never happen. I sense the sarcasm, Kathleen. Yeah, just a bunch of city-states at the time, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Michelangelo was the opposite of Da Vinci. Da Vinci couldn't get anything done. Michelangelo was like popping them out.
Yeah.
I love this. Yeah.
Should we talk, if anyone has any last comments on the book, that's fine, but should we talk about what we're going to be focusing on for the rest of Middle Grade March?
Yeah.
And wrap
Just
up?
feel free if you guys have any other thoughts. I think we did a good job covering a bunch of stuff. Amanda, go ahead and talk about Olivetti.
There's a couple of comments or questions in the comments about Olivetti. So I'm currently listening to Olivetti, which is a book told from the point of view of a typewriter. And so far, I'm only like 15% of the way in. It is beautiful. And the cover is amazing. And if I love it, I will 110% be purchasing it because the cover is to die for.
I'm really glad you're reading that because two things. It was on my anticipated reads list for the winter. I saw the cover and immediately loved it. And then I started to see some reviews on Goodreads that were not so great. And so I'm
I haven't read any reviews for it. I'm purely just, it was like, this cover looks amazing.
I'm just listening. Ready to hear what you think of it.
Yeah, same. I've seen the Real Bookery talk about it on Instagram, Shannon on Instagram, but she doesn't read a lot of middle grade, so I need someone who reads a lot of middle grade to tell me what they think.
Yeah. The cover's just amazing.
The cover is so pretty.
So I'm listening to that. I'm also like 75% of the way through Show Us Who You Are, I think is what it's called, by Elle McNicol. It is weird, to say the least. I'm not jiving with it super well, but I have like an hour and a half left, so I just need to finish it. It's fine. It's about a girl with, an autistic girl. And so I'm planning on finishing those two for sure. That will probably honestly be it for me for Middle Grade March this year, which is kind of wah-wah compared to years past. But I've had a whole heck of a lot going on in my personal life. So the fact that I got anything read this month is a success. So it just is what it is.
Yeah. How about you, Krista?
I am currently reading Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief for the first time and absolutely loving it.
I love that you're loving it so much. Like that you're loving it so much.
It's a lot of fun. Amanda, I did binge the rest of the Track series last weekend. On Saturday, I read Patina and Sunny and Lou.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I finished at like 1 a.m, but I read all 3 in a day. And it's so good. I think
it's just so good.
I still think Ghost is my favorite, but I loved Patina's story. I think I could relate to it a lot. And so I loved her story.
Love every last one of those books. I love so much.
They're really, really good. Another one that I've started that is kind of not well known, Miraculous Miranda by Siobhan Parkinson. This is one that's going to do.
I've never heard of that.
I know. I don't really know what it's about. One of my patrons, actually she has a channel now, Michelle Lynn Reads. She recommended it. It's going to deal with grief and a girl with a brother who has a chronic illness. So
man, are you ready for that?
I don't know, but
I was going to say be gentle
tiny
and kind to yourself.
We haven't even met the brother yet. I'm only about 10 pages in. So we're gonna see. But I do hope to read Julia and the Shark, which is another book that deals with grief, and Escape from Aleppo before the end of the month. Those are but I'm ahead. I finished 28.
Krista, you just listed like 8 books.
No, I listed 4. Percy Jackson.
More than 4.
No, I didn't. Percy Jackson, Miraculous Miranda, Julia, and Escape from Aleppo. 4.
Okay.
It seemed like a lot more than that.
But I'm on track. I finished 28 already. So,
Krista, that's crazy.
Amazing.
I mean, you always do it. I'm not surprised.
I don't always, but I get close every time. So I'm definitely going to do it this year because it's the weekend almost, and I don't have anything really to do. So yeah. How about you, Katie?
So I was reading the Mona Lisa. Oh, I am actually. It says I'm in between books, but I am re-listening to Al Capone Does My Shirts. And because I read that book years ago, and now I'm listening to it with my ears, and I'm loving it so much. And Krista was messaging us and being like, "The mother's making me so mad," and it's like, I want to feel that again. And I am feeling the anger towards Moose's mother. Moose Flanagan. What a great name for a middle grade book. But I'm loving it again so much. And I finished the Mona Lisa Vanishes yesterday, and I started the Benefits of Being an Octopus, but I do not think I am in the right mood for that book. It is so heavy and intense, and that is just no. It's not. That typically is not my favorite kind of middle grade book to begin with, so I don't know if I'll come back to it or not. It's well written. It's just not my kind of middle grade. So, and I understand that it's important, and maybe I will read it at some point. It's not like I don't ever read intense, difficult middle grade books, but I usually always want, like, if it's going to be intense, I want some like humor or lightheartedness in there somewhere, and this one is just really, really heavy. So I don't know, but I think instead of that, I think I'm going to set that down because I just can't get into it, and I think I'm going to read The Lost Year instead. I'm very excited for it.
We highly support that decision.
Yes. Do it.
I did forget that I am also listening to The House with Chicken Legs because I needed like a fantasy in the midst of all of it. Well, I needed an audiobook really because everything else that I have is in print. I can't read, like the 4 that I mentioned, I can't find the audios for unless I buy it, and not doing that. So I'm going to beat 20 or 31, but yay for Trek. Sunny is my favorite. I think that's honestly my least fave.
I loved Sunny. Sunny was my favorite too.
I've got Pacina's on its way to me, so I still haven't been able to binge it, but
it's on Everand.
Keep going. What's Everand?
Scribd.
It's Scribd.
Is it just a different name for it?
Yeah, they updated
Changed
the name.
The name. How fun. I learned how to type on a 1942 Olivetti typewriter.
That's amazing.
Oh my word. I love
that so much.
A sequel to A Kind of Spark to come out.
Interesting.
Let's see. I'm in the middle of Wild Robot. So good. I'm reading the second one out loud with my kids now, and we love the second one just tonight. Wilder like gets into bed every night, and it's never happened before where he's like, please read another chapter, please read another chapter.
Oh, I love
he's like falling asleep, and he's like, I don't want you to stop, please read another chapter.
I love it.
So cute. I think I'm gonna read The Wild Robot with my youngest.
Yes. He would love it.
Yes,
I'm sure he would. I need to get, normally Dad puts him to bed, so I need to get in the habit of putting him to bed.
I'm reading The Lightning Thief with Hannah, so we're buddy reading that, which is fun. I know. Westwood, that's not middle grade. Kristen's kicking it. Whoop whoop. trying to finish Alebrijes.
What do you think of Alebrijes?
I know. I want to read it so bad.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Kelly is going to finish at 32 or 33. Amazing.
Wow, Kelly, that's awesome.
Way to go. I think what's my final tally here?
I think my final tally is 7. Which is
me,
abysmal compared to what I've done in the past.
That sounds bad to me.
It's still good. It's fine.
Right now, I'm going to tell you what my tally is right now.
Yes, I agree. Put it down.
Yeah. This is the first time actually, because usually I will just push through, but I only made it like 20 or 30 pages in. And I think I'm good to just
don't do it.
Yeah.
Real Fast Mouse is not very long. You could do that.
Oh yeah, that's like probably like 3 hours on audio.
On audio, yeah.
I'm at 7 also. I'm at 7 also, Amanda. But I did read a couple other books in there. I finished A Fever in the Heartland. I listened to Beach Read. I've just listened to a whole heck of a lot of podcasts. I also read Sadako and the Thousand Paper Cranes.
4,
oh,
5,
nice.
6.
Which is like basically a short story. And
Amanda, how did you like The Second Coyote?
I really enjoyed it. However, I talked to a friend who did not like it at all, and I heard her criticism, and I was like, you're not wrong. So I specifically liked it because I have a child that is going through something right now that I could really relate to parts of the story, and they really touched me and made me get teary-eyed, and so therefore I loved it.
Yeah.
However, there are some issues with it.
Sure.
So, but I was pleasantly surprised because I was very pessimistic going into it.
Yeah.
I did not think it was going to be good, and I definitely ate my words. I enjoyed it. So
I'm definitely going to finish the prompts and Mona Lisa Vanishes before I'm reading anything else, no matter what.
Oh, I should see. I was going to say, if I finish the 2 I'm in the middle of, I'll have gotten 8. But I was going to see if I hit all of the prompts. So I got 1, 2, 3.
I love that.
4. What were the prompts? I got the refugee story. I got the animal on the cover.
One word title.
That might be the one that I didn't get. Yeah.
I think
if I do Olivetti, that'll count.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I got debut.
Debut, and what was the last one?
Book you feel like you missed out on.
Oh yeah, missed out on.
Yeah, I don't have that one. All right, so I got 4 out of the 5.
I think that I got all of them because I did small spaces for book you feel like you missed out on, or I could do Lost Year for that too if I finish it. One word title was Ghost. Refugee story was Under a Broken Sky. What am I missing? Animal story was The Last Bear. Debut, I think I can count one of the other books that I think that well, I'm pretty sure the Mona Lisa Vanishes is a debut, but also one of the other books that I already mentioned, The Last Bear, was a debut also, because the Benefits of Being an Octopus was going to be my debut. But since I'm putting that aside, I need to do something else. So I'm going to count one of my other books as a debut. It'll count for 2.
Nice. I read lots for all of them.
Of course you did. You have multiple.
This is not a debut.
Is it not?
This is his first children's book. So he's written for adults before.
I kind of think that should count.
I do too. I do too. His debut children's book. There you go.
It's his debut children's book.
I love that.
I mean, make the prompts work for you.
Exactly.
That's what we tell everybody.
Stretching it for myself.
I love it. Question: is Paddington a refugee or immigrant story? Jen said
Make the prompts work for you.
Make the prompts work for you. This is what we were just saying.
25. grab a couple graphic novels, Becca.
You got this.
I only have 2.
Or read Sadako and the 1,000 Paper Cranes, which actually maybe don't bother.
Or
read Sadako and the 1,000 Paper Cranes, which actually maybe don't bother. I was really disappointed, and I remember loving it when I was a kid. But
give her or Number of the Stars is real short.
Oh yeah,
real short.
That's one I'd really like to read.
Good.
And it is very good.
I read a bunch of short ones, but not a bunch. But I just read The Secret Garden of 85th Street, and it was fantastic.
It's so good, isn't it?
It's a pretty straightforward Secret Garden.
I love that Robin is a bodega cat. I think that's my favorite part of the whole book.
It's just a New York City retelling of The Secret Garden. It's very straightforward.
It's
so
good.
It's so sweet. I really loved it. I read that last night. Just on a whim.
Hannah, yes, Maisie Chen would count as immigrant.
Yep. The Lucky Chen story. Yep. The Chronicles of Narnia as one book or
7?
It's absolutely
7.
they are each individual.
Even
story.
if it's in the bind up, it is still 7 individual books.
Yep. I agree. All right. Well, friends. Oh, we did have an idea of coming back on as a live to do like a wrap up to share our thoughts on the books that we read for the month, but we probably won't do that. But what we will do in May, is it May?
I think May.
I need to look at the note on my phone because I have it right now. We need to make a video about this, girls. We haven't talked about this. This was what I also was meant to talk to you about earlier today, and I forgot. Yes, May. So this year for 2024 Middle Grade March Book Club, we are doing quarterly as opposed to monthly to try it out. So our first book will be in May, and we will read Everything Else in the Universe by Tracy Holzer.
Excited for that one.
Yeah. And then August will be Castle of Tangled Magic by Sophie Anderson. And November will be Simon Sort of Says by somebody that I didn't write down.
I can't remember. Aaron.
Oh yeah.
Aaron something.
Nichols? Aaron. It's not Nichols.
Bo?
Bo. I don't know.
Is it Bo? I don't
know. There will be something on the website, and there will be something here on this channel. And
I was right. Aaron Bo.
Something. Are the books in the Disco read yet? What is this? Discord? Read yet? I don't know.
Are the books in the Discord yet?
No, but there will be. We'll make a graphic. And by we, I mean one of those two. We'll make a graphic because I'm not making a graphic. You don't want me to make a graphic. That is not my forte. But one of them will make
look for more information coming on book club is what we're saying. But we will be meeting to discuss Everything Else in the Universe in May. It will probably be mid-May, not the end of the month. But
just try for mid-month rather than end of the month.
Yeah, so just watch the Instagram and the YouTube channel for more information on that. It will be coming.
And we may, I'm just throwing it out here, but we might do sprints or something on months when we're not having book club just here on this channel, just to kind of keep some
stay apprised of the situation. Also, just a heads up that the Etsy shop will be closing on Sunday. So if you want to order any merch, do so before Sunday because it will be going bye-bye until next year.
Yep. Good point.
Thank you for remembering to say that, Amanda.
The link to that is in the description of this video already.
Yep.
It's there.
Or just search for Middle Grade March on Etsy. You'll find it.
Absolutely. And we hope that you read a 5-star or 2 before the end of the month.
Heck yeah.
And thanks for another fantastic Middle Grade March. I've enjoyed seeing.
Thank you guys so much for showing up for these lives. Like this is the best part of the whole month for me.
It's always the best part.
Agree. What they said. Yeah. So you guys are awesome, and stay tuned for more ways to connect and all that jazz. And we hope that you are reading a great book. Bye.
Indeed.